What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Authentically Audrey B TV. I am your girl, Audrey B, and this channel is also known as AAB TV. Y'all, excuse my appearance. I know I look crazy, but we are not in the studio. We are on spring break. So I'm at home, and Monday, I got my wisdom teeth taken out, all four. So if I'm talking low, talking different, excuse me. But I wanted to make sure that I got this video out today. I've been asleep. And before this good old medicine kicks in, let's talk about my favorite show, your favorite show, America's favorite show, Abbott Elementary. Let's get into it. Y'all, the way this episode has stressed me. This episode has stressed me, y'all, and I don't know. I don't know how much more I can take. Abbott is getting into the serious emotional bag. And when I say serious and emotional, I mean that. In this particular episode, specifically, this is episode 19, and it is entitled Trip. So the video opens up with Ava being a guest on the school podcast, and she's talking about hot takes. She's like, she ain't come there to talk about school business and all this other boring stuff. She wants to discuss hot takes. So that's what the kids and her discuss, and Jacob says that that episode will never see the light of day. Then we find out that Janine and Greg are planning their first couples trip, right? And Jacob was all excited about it, but he's also like in a mood in this entire episode also because him and Elijah are having issues and they broke up, right? And so he's just like super involved in whatever Janine and Greg got going on. So they are planning the trip and everything seems to be going okay until they cannot decide on how they want to travel. Janine wants to go by plane because it's faster. Greg wants to go by car because it's a scenic route. I think they're going to someplace, y'all. I'll put it down there. But they are going there and they just can't seem to compromise, right? They can't seem to agree on what they want to do. And it's beginning to like spill over and make each of them feel some type of way. Meanwhile, Melissa has a former student who Ava calls her son because they're really close. And he looks so familiar, y'all. I don't know if he was in another episode previously, but he just looks crazy familiar. So if y'all know if he was or what show or movies from, please let me know. But anyways, he's a former student of hers who has been deemed, super successful, owes all of his success to Melissa and her teaching and her way of pouring into her students. And he's apparently really good with math, so he's gonna be coming in and talking to her middle school students about math, and he's also making really good money doing like crypto and things like that. So Ava's trying to get in on it too, but in the midst of all that, he lets Melissa know that he is coming to ask for a favor, and this favor is for her to write a letter to talk about his character and who he is as a person because he's been convicted of scamming basically, and it throws Melissa totally off, but she assures him that she would do it because you're a good kid. Like, why you would be sent to jail for this is insane. And so she assures him that she'll do it, and he's happy. You help me, I help you. I'll come and talk to your students and all that other stuff. And she was like bragging to her students about him and everything. And then, but you could tell like that there was some type of like hesitant spirit in her because she just didn't think that it was as cut and dry as he was making it seem. And Barb and Mr. J were having their own little feud over the fact that she's giving her students in kindergarten the snacks and they're making a mess, right? They're not throwing things away. He's having to clean up these messes. He came in the classroom and showed the bottom of his shoe and he had raisins all stuck in the crevices of the bottom of his shoe. And she's like, look, I done told you my kids eat the snacks. They enjoy the snacks. Don't y'all enjoy the snacks, kids? And they all said yes. And he was like, they're lying. And I'm going to prove it to you. And she's just like, sir, please get on with that. But ends up that he was right. He ends up following this trail of raisins all the way to like a fire extinguisher cabinet. And all of them raisins and cheese balls and all of that stuff was just stuck up in there. And at first I was like, what the heck is in there? Because are these raisins or is this like poop? Like what we got to see. But it ended up being that. And so he basically proved Barb wrong. And she was like, I can't believe my kids lied to me. And he was like, yeah, they lied to you. I told you. And she's just like, how could I trust them ever again? Right. But then they end up like coming together and he gave her a list of like snacks that the kids have approved of that he would also like for her to buy. And she told him that they made a pact or a deal that they're gonna throw their things away in the trash can and stuff like that. But like she said, she don't know if she could trust them, but I'm sure Mr. Johnson's gonna make a way for them kids to make sure they clean up after themselves. So back to Janine, right? Janine, we know, has been kind of a pushover since season 1, basically. We know how she was with her relationship with Tariq. She, paid all the bills. She did everything. She always went with the things that he wanted to do, and he took advantage of that, right? And when she broke up with him and she kind of started coming into her own, she was standing up for herself, even on her job. She was standing up for herself a lot more, and changed, kind of like her whole little vibe. She's a little bit more stylish, a little bit more confident in who she is. And when we know that when her and Greg decided to get together, and then now that they live together, she was still on this whole thing of, I gotta take care of everything. And y'all know, like, that moment where she was just like, he was just like, I got you. Like, we're gonna be splitting this stuff 50-50. And she was like, oh, you're right. And we was all like, oh, yay, it's so sweet. Now, y'all, the real is reeling. The life is lifing. The relationship is relationshiping. And we're starting to see that our favorite couple has some little quirks. And this one doesn't seem to work itself out as quick and as easy as other little issues that they've had in the past. And the whole time I'm like, what is happening? Like, but again, I was here for Janine because she's growing, right? And she's not going along just to get along with things anymore. She's not compromising what she wants just to save face and go along with, what her man wants, because she has needs and she has wants as well. And they're going to be respected. And she's standing on that. And I'm just like, proud of that. So what should be in, an exciting time of planning a trip for vacation for your boo turns into an entirely huge fallout. Now they fall out at work, but then here comes Jacob. He's the whole time, like I said, he's been, attached to them and what they got going on. And he wants to know all the details because, he could tell that there was something going on, but he, held their hand and assured them that, they're the favorite couple is going to make it through like they always do. And they kind of like looked at each other like, yeah, we got this, and then we come to a point where we think that everything is going to be okay. And they decide that they're going to come to some type of compromise, but they didn't. Greg did. And he decided, well, since he thinks that buying plane tickets is a waste of money and it's too expensive. And Janine thinks that driving to the destination is too long and she don't want to be stuck in traffic and all this other stuff, that they just go to Atlantic City. And he's just like, there, we can get there in less than an hour. It's not as expensive as wherever else they're supposed to be going that I can't think of at the moment. And we're good. And Janine's like, you could tell she's just like, in her head, she hates the idea. But her physically in the now, she agreed to it. And but then in our little confessional, she was like, I really wanted to go wherever they was supposed to go originally. She was upset about it, and she did have a conversation briefly with Jacob, and she was just like, no, I really want to go. And he must have said something to her that again caused her to have this like aha moment. And so she was like, thank you, you know what, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And what ended up happening was she bought the 2 plane tickets herself instead of, I guess, them going half and half, or Greg spending his money, to buy the tickets since he thought it was expensive. She said that she just went ahead and spent her money, and that way she thought that, he would be okay and they could still go to the original destination. And at this point they was at school, right? And he was just like, what? Like, why would you do that? And she was like, because this is where I really wanted to go. And he was like, but I told you that was too expensive and I'm not gonna get on there. She was like, well, I spent my money so you didn't have to, so we're good. And you came up with this compromise that he brought up. And she was like, well, you brought this up, like you did it, not a us thing. And then he made some type of remark about her not being able to manage money properly and how it was a stupid idea. And she's just like, what did you say? And then in comes Jacob again. And so they end up, tabling it for now and not speaking to each other, because the next time that we see them, they're at home and they're, just got through eating dinner, and she's looking upset, he's looking upset, and he is like breaking the ice, and he's just like, you know what, I don't want to fight with you, I don't want to argue with you. I know that I said some things, or we both said some things that we did not mean, but I apologize. And then they get into an argument again, and I'm like, what the heck is happening? But again, instead of showing these lovey-dovey type thing that we're so used to, they're showing like real life struggles of being in a relationship, real life struggles of what happens when couples live together, and the ways that they handle money, or the ways that they keep the house clean and different things like that, like how that can affect your relationship, because you never really know somebody until you live with them, or at least that's what I say. And so they end up getting into an argument again, and y'all, I said, they doing too much now. They can't be doing this to me. Janine ends up saying that maybe they should not be together. Maybe they should just break up. And then she's kind of like, did I just really say that? And then Greg is like, looking like, that's all he did. He said, and I was like, what? Like, this cannot be happening. And even Greg was just like, I don't even know what just happened just now. And I'm over here just like, no. Like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no way that they're really about to break up over this. Like, but I also see why Janine was so like adamant about not just letting him take control. But the whole entire argument was mainly, it wasn't even really about the plane or the car or whatever. It was more so about control and making decisions and things like that. And then it ended up being like little shots being thrown at each other of things that, like, I feel like they've been wanting to say to each other, but they didn't know how. So now that they're kind of upset that they throw these things out, because when Greg made the comment about how she handles money, and then he said something about it again, and she was basically like offended, like, you know, you're in so many ways, you're talking about me. You're saying that I'm irresponsible. You say I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. And he was like, well, yeah, I am saying that. And I'm just like, no. I'm just looking at the screen like, I cannot believe this is happening. And then, you know, we just see them walk away from each other. Like, how they just gonna leave us hanging like that? Like, how they gonna leave us hanging like that? I don't, I'm like, Abbott, y'all stressing me out. And then when it comes to Melissa, she ends up researching the student, her former student, and finding out, you know, his charges and things like that. And she decides that after talking to Ava, like I said, telling her, you know, you're not responsible for him. Like, he made his own decisions. Like, you don't have to be sucked into him in his manipulation tactic, trying to, you know, do something for you so that you can do something for him. Because, you know, like he told her, like, I learned from you and how you used to teach us to do X, Y, and Z, and used to tell us how to, I guess, in a way, like, her, you know, hood mentality, or her, you know, mafia mentality, or, you know, her street sense, basically, how she always incorporates that in her classroom. And so he's like, I learned it from you. And she's just like, I would never tell you to go and do what you've done. And I'm sorry, I can't help you. And so he was just like, cool. But he, you know, made comments just kind of to make her feel guilty, which she ended up feeling. And again, she had a conversation with Ava, and Ava let her know again that you're not responsible for him. And this is exactly what he wanted you to feel like, because you didn't help him. He wanted you to feel guilty, but he's grown and he made his own decisions. And she's like, yeah, but I feel like I'm guilty or because I taught him certain things, or I teach my class certain things. And it basically made her kind of like self-reflect on her approach and her strategies, practices, all the things that she talks to her kids about, because, you know, it can make them think a certain way, and then she doesn't want to feel like she's, you know, causing them to go out and do crime, basically. But in the end, you know, Ava, in her discussion, helped her to feel better. And she basically just, you know, had to come to that decision, even though it was a hard one, because she was very close to that former student. But she was no longer conflicted, and she did what she had to do. And then, like, Jacob, like I said, he had been so involved in Janine and Greg's stuff that was going on, and anytime that they was getting into it with each other and he would come around, they would like snap out of it and, you know, grin and bear it like everything was okay. And so eventually he ends up letting Mr. Johnson know that him and his boyfriend Elijah are back together, and that, you know, everything is on the up and up. And they were having a discussion. He gets a text, and it's from Janine, and he had literally just said something about how they was like the best couple, or, you know, something like that. And it's from Janine. He doesn't read it. We don't see it. All we see is that this boy is sick. He's thrown up in the daggone garbage can. And Mr. Jones is like, I just changed that out. And he's just whole head, just puking. Like, he can't believe it. Just like me. Just like I'm sure everybody else was. And we all know what the text message said. It probably said, we're through, we're over, we're done. I broke up with them. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen after this. Like, they just moved in together. They've been together for a while. They love one another, and it's like, for whatever reason, in this situation, they just could not agree on something. And it's like, what do you do? Do you just end it? Because at first they were just like, well, one of them suggested that they just not even take a trip. They just not even take a vacation. And I just feel like, mostly, this is my opinion, I feel like Greg was being very unreasonable. I understand the frugalness. I understand budgeting. I understand all of that. But being so serious all the time is exhausting to the other person. Not being teachable, not being willing to, just do something different for a little while, especially when you see that your woman is super excited about going somewhere, and then you just keep on doubling down on nope, nope, nope. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. I honestly felt like he was being a jerk. And then he made his little smart aleck comments that done got in her head and that done pissed her off. And now she wants to break up because you done made her that mad because you're being unreasonable. And on top of that, she already went ahead and bought the tickets. Either way it goes, y'all was gonna go with each other, y'all was gonna have a good time. Why keep on just harboring over the fact that, it costs too much? It's just they, to the point where he even tried to have like this lesson for his kids, that just so happened to basically like reflect what was happening, to the point where Janine overheard it and she came in and was throwing her little shots while also trying to like combat his lesson with another lesson. I was like, absolutely not. And this also another reason why it's hard to date somebody where you work, because it's like you work with them and then you live with them. It's like you don't get a break. You get easily annoyed with each other, I'm sure. So it's just like, it was all of that coupled into one. And I'm just like, they cannot just really just say, we're done. Like, they really cannot just say we're done and what they gonna do with the apartment? Are they gonna end up being roommates? They better not even try. They better not even try us with this. We're gonna be roommates and you date your people and I date my people. I don't got time for that. I don't got time for that. That thought popped up in my head while watching this episode yesterday. And I was like, if they decide to break up and they do this little silly roommate stuff, I'm gonna be so mad, because we all know deep down inside that they're gonna want to be together. So I'm just like, oh, Abbott Elementary, y'all are doing too much. Y'all playing in my face. But yeah, y'all, that was the episode. Like, the main storyline was Janine and Greg. I don't know what else to say. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it, because I'm still like, there is no way that they're just gonna break up like this. Got me feeling like Jacob, about to throw up in the trash can. But yeah, that was the episode, y'all. I again apologize for being super late. But I wanted to get it out, and I'm about to go back in here and continue resting. Y'all, this wisdom tooth stuff was no joke. The right side, it's been feeling wonderful. This left side has been giving me problems. So earlier today, I had to go back to the dentist office, get numbed up, get a shot at my gum again, like I had to do for the procedure, and they cleaned something out. It's not infected, it's not a dry socket. It was just causing me terrible, excruciating pain. And I finally got it under control, and I'm so grateful. I feel so much better. Never had no mouth pain, no teeth issues, except for when I had braces and I would go get them tightened. But this stuff, and I was awake during the extraction of all 4 wisdom teeth. had to get shots in my gum, y'all. At that time, they didn't numb me, but they numb me today. I'm like, where was the numbing cream on Monday? You know what I'm saying? But it ain't about me. It's about Abbott. I'm just grateful that we're, on the mend, and that I was able to get this video out, because I didn't know how it was gonna go, because your girl was in pain earlier and I had slept the day away. But I'm gonna get off of here so I can edit this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed this recap, and let me know y'all comments, y'all feelings about yesterday's episode. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I do. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.